Hello everyone, this is Rebecca from Rebecca's Beautiful ASMR Addiction. I am so glad that you decided to join me today, and we are going to hear some wonderful leather sounds from a genuine old saddle. Let's explore it, find out the anatomy of it, and I'll talk some more about it in a little bit. Let's change the perspective so you can see the saddle better, okay? Okay, so let me begin by telling you that when I was young, I rode horses with my father and my family and my friends in the neighborhood I grew up in. And so a saddle is very familiar to me, but it has been years and years since I rode. But I was very excited to find this relatively inexpensive saddle for a piece of history. I can tell you that the woman who owned this before I bought it had just passed away, and she was a native Canadian, indigenous person, Indian, if you will. And this was just a beautiful saddle, wouldn't you agree? Yeah, let's begin with an explanation. This is a rope, a steering rope. Catch your cows. This has like a little leather piece on the end of it to secure your knot with. And that's a guess, because that end of things I don't know anything about, but I do know that this is your horn. The horn, among other names for it, it has several purposes, and one is just basically hold on for dear life. Just kidding. When I was young, I did use it for that sometimes, but the main thing that that it's for is to hold your rope. Originally, years and years ago, during cowboy days, and then it's also to help create your own balance. It's to help you with turning your horse and to mount and dismount your horse. So basically it's a grip, and it comes in handy all the time. So let's take this rope and get it out of the way for now. This area right here is called the swell or pommel. I believe there's other names for it, but that is basic structure to hold your horn. So you can see that this is going to be super, super strong, and this leather is so hard. So that's just basic structure that determines from this point to the cantle how long your seat is going to be. Some people call this the Cheyenne cantle, and this basically is a lip on the back of your saddle to have held blankets or whatever thing you're bringing with you on your ride. So that, and this saddle doesn't look like it's built necessarily for cattle, but nevertheless, they are built that way. Most of them are. Some of them have a very small roll on the back, but the more the lip, the better for holding things that you're bringing with you. Okay, so let's see what else. This is basically your seat right here. And this whole seat back pretty much here is to give your back some support and help you sit up straight in your saddle. This woman was very small who owned this before me. I could never use this. saddle. I bought it purely for show and because I just love, love, love the memories and the sight of it and the feel of it. It's so beautiful. Look at this incredible design. The stitching on this. Wow. And look at this scalloped edge. You know, there are some very, what do you call, practical saddles that don't have a lot of extras or flair on it. But this one is definitely for show and practical use as well. Must start making some saddle sounds so you can enjoy that. Let me just switch views again so you can get a different perspective of the saddle. Wait, before I do that. No, yeah, let's switch it. Okay, I changed perspectives so that you could see the valley, the fork, the gullet. Those are all different names for this area right here that opens up. And it determines the width and how the sidebar sits on the horse's back. It's considerations that you have to make for the width of the horse, the saddle, the rider and the horse is considered in the purchase of a saddle. So it would be, you couldn't throw this saddle on just any horse, and it won't fit just any rider, in other words, as we stated by the seat size, you know. So the higher the seat back is, the more support for your back, the less, the lower it is, the more relaxed your ride is, but it won't give you as much back support. So. You of course cannot see it, but there are sidebars. That is what's resting on this log horse. It seems to me that this must have been for a small horse, possibly, or one that just wasn't as wide. You could throw this on the back of any horse, but it might not be the most comfortable for them or you. So you can see that it's nicely padded here, and has seen better days for sure. So I'm going to switch scenes again to give you a better look at other parts of the saddle. Okay, you guys, here's another perspective, and I wanted to show you the rear housing. This is basic structure that lays on top of the saddle skirt, and the purpose of this is, of course, stability, again, for the stable, for the saddle and the rider, and I don't know how it does this, but it supposedly distributes the weight of the rider, and I guess just balance, whatever. But that sits on top of the skirt. Okay. It also helps maintain the shape of the saddle as well. Okay, I'm trying to make leather sounds to keep you excited. But just remember, there's going to be a no talking version of this video where I am just making squeaky leather sounds. Alright, so the skirt here is a very important part of a saddle that just basically covers up the bars that are your basic structure of the saddle. And that skirt runs the whole length of it. Okay, another view, you guys. This is your basic tie straps, and in Western saddles they're also known as latigo straps. And basically all these were for was to hold extra straps up and out of your way that were on the saddle. And this saddle, unfortunately, does not have the cinches, and the cinch straps are basically what they would hold, or I imagine whatever thing you had along with you on your ride. This is what's often called and referred to as a jockey seat. It is a nice thick piece of leather that basically comes off the saddle and covers up your paraphernalia underneath. Alright, this is not going to be comfortable on your thighs. So basically, covers up and protects your thighs and protects your skin, your clothing. And that leads to the D-rings. Now, the D-ring is attached very carefully and strong hardware for the purpose of being able to put your leather strap through here, which I am missing. You're supposed to have a cinch, and that cinch is going to look a little bit like this. Maybe not nearly as wide, but it would have the belt holes. Of course, imagine this running through this, only smaller. It's such a bummer that I don't have a cinch on this saddle, but I'm not going to be using it, so it's not that big a deal. But you have your belt running through here like this. There is a D-ring just like this on the other side, and you run your belt through here under the belly of the horse, grab that other side and just pull under the belly of your horse, and that's going to hold your saddle on oftentimes. And I don't know what it depends on, but some saddles have a cinch in the front as well, and I've seen them where they have just a loose weave belt that just loosely comes under the front belly, front girth of the horse. But the most important belt is the cinch in the back. And a story to tell you, and while I tell you, I'll just tinker with these spurs, which I'll talk to you about later. When I was growing up, my father told me, he says, Rebecca, make sure that you pull that cinch as tight as possible. As tight as possible. As tight as possible. And here's the reason, Miss Rebecca, is that if you don't, the saddle will come loose and you will be falling off just like that. And he says also to watch out for the horse's bloating. A horse, like people, we could all do it, will bloat their belly on purpose and make it larger while you're pulling and tugging on your cinch to get that belt tight. They're going, trying to make their belly as big as possible. So then you go riding later, and of course it happened to me. I didn't go back and try to tighten it again after he had relaxed, and the horse, the saddle went like this, and I'm just kind of flying off to the side, holding on to the horn for dear life. So that only happened once, and I never forgot to tighten up that cinch and then wait for the horse to relax and unbloat his belly. And when he's not paying too much attention, you go back in there and you cinch that thing back up the next inch or two or whatever you can get after he's done faking it. Yeah, so you want your cinch to be tight because you don't want your saddle to fall off, and you don't want to go flying. I've only fallen off a horse about 3 different times, but the last time I did it, I was done. I didn't want to ride anymore. Not because it was a pretty harrowing experience, but I just, with kids and stuff, it wasn't enough of a love, and it wasn't my horse, and it's very difficult to afford a horse and that lifestyle. So we had them growing up, and that was an experience of a lifetime, but it's not a common thing. So let's move on to another part of the saddle. Okay, y'all, this is what you call a fender. It basically hangs down the side of the saddle in order to protect your calves, your clothing, your legs from touching the horse's body and experiencing that lovely sensation of a horse's sweat getting on your skin. All right, this particular fender, as you can see, does not have stirrups hanging on the end of it. It should, but it does not. When I bought the saddle, it just didn't have them on it. And so I suspect because she was such a small lady that she might have even stuck her feet inside this loop here. But there's all kinds of length on this to provide for any size person. Her stirrup hangs right here off of the edge. And I don't have a stirrup to show you. I think most of you know what they are. Your foot cups inside of it and holds you. Your foot. Okay, so normally the stirrup hangs right at the end of that. And the stirrup usually has a hobble that goes around the bottom. Without seeing the stirrup, I just can't really give you a good feeling of what that looks like. So stirrup is an absolute must, and this saddle just doesn't have it. here we have a set of spurs. Most of you would recognize spurs if you watched Western movies. These are buckled together with each other, but they would normally buckle together around the back of your boot. And spurs were basically only had one purpose, and that was basically to prod your horse, kick them in the back flank to giddy up, basically. And I don't think that I would ever use or could use something like this on my horse, but I have done a light kick in the flank with the back of my shoe. It never took anything as drastic as this, and I don't know when or why it ever would have in times past. But these are kind of cool looking, aren't they? It'd be fun to wear them on the back of your boots just for looks and for the clank. Seems like a very traditional sound to have heard in a Western movie, right? That'd be fun. Giddy up, cowboy. Giddy up, cowboy. That's what I'd use them for. No, just kidding. So, I think I've pretty much told you the whole anatomy of this saddle and what it's supposed to do. Let me just go ahead and make a few more saddle sounds for your pleasure. You would bring your fender up here like this. Turn this way. Loosen it. I have no idea how to do that. It's been too many years. We are definitely missing some parts. That's okay. A person getting onto a saddle, this would probably be where most of that squeaky leather sound is coming from, as they put their foot in the stirrup and lift, because it's pulling on this lovely thing. note the many colors. We've got a real reddish color here. Up here it's very gold. And of course the horn is practically black. And this, of course, the inside of the strap was not colored, but it is so darkened with age. Cracking. I have a feeling this saddle's pretty old, but I really don't know how old. The sound of the jingle of a spur. So great. That's how you knew a cowboy was coming, because the spurs, jangle of the spurs, and then getting up and down off of his horse. You'd hear this sound. And in the movies you only get to hear it a little bit, but I want to repeat this. In the movies, I'll tell you, there is a name for these sounds like this that are made for Hollywood. They're called Foley, named after the man who kind of invented the idea of making sound effects for the movies. And so these are called Foley sounds for the movies for Hollywood for film. Only here you're getting the real deal here. Now we're not getting up and down off the saddle, but you're seeing it. This is how they would do it. They would take belts and squeak this leather in timing with the individual getting up and down off their horse. No, they could not record the real sound in the movies. It was impossible to get a microphone that close back then. But Foley sounds are used quite a bit still in Hollywood. Let's get the gang all here. Actually, this is my first rodeo. It says on that sign. That is indeed the truth. It's not my first horseback ride, but definitely never been in a rodeo. I've been to a rodeo. I've been to rodeos several times, especially when I lived in Montana, and rodeo is big up there, definitely. I never noticed it much in California, but I'm sure that there's a lot of it out here too. And where I grew up was basically horse country, lots of horses. believe these are real silver Latigo straps. However, this saddle I don't believe is Western. But that part I just don't know for a fact because I haven't seen a lot of different saddles. I haven't. Where I grew up, when I grew up riding horses, I wouldn't have even given a rip about what kind of saddle I was riding. Just stay on saddle. Stay on the saddle and saddle stay on. But horseback riding was so fun. Horseback riding was a dream, especially when the horse, when we went into a full run, a full canter. The only thing I did not like was trotting. A horse's trot would like to just shake the bejeebers out of me, and including my top half of my body. I did not like my chest jiggling. Oh my God, it drove me crazy. What a delightful sound all of these sounds are. It brings back so many memories. And it's interesting that so many people like the sound of saddles and spurs. And it may be only just because they saw it in a Western movie. That could be all that they ever experienced of leather. And just have a super nostalgic feeling about it just because of that. I know that's true for me with the spurs because honestly, I never saw a set of spurs in my life until I think I went to an antique store or something. Yeah, but this is the first pair I've ever owned, so the only nostalgia associated with it has to do with Western movies, cowboys, and of course loving the history. I love the history of our Old West. It was bizarre and bloody, but it was also very exciting. The wild, wild West. Yeah. A lot of folklore involved, but a lot of history.